Hello everyone. After high school, many years ago, I was in a bad place. My guardian had kicked me out after graduation. She didn't help me find a place to stay, so I lived in my car for a couple months. I met some heavy metal dudes at work one day. I had seen them around town and all my other friends knew who they were. Everyone loved them. We became friends over a couple months and they offered for me to move in with them. I agreed. Looking back now, I wish I had just stayed in my car. My two main roommates were brothers, named Andrew and Seth. They were in a band. They also believed in the occult and anything of that sort. I never really believed in that stuff, but I'm not one to tell someone what they should believe. They had let me live with them rent-free for several months, so who was I to complain? Being the only female in the house full of young men, I was always looking over my shoulder. You never know who you can trust. Turns out I was right to worry. Over time, their friends started to stay with us for longer periods of time, sometimes weeks. Their friends were another group of brothers that they had gone to school with. There were 5 brothers in total, but only 2 stayed with us consistently. The younger brother Mark was very polite. He cleaned up after himself and always helped me with the household chores. The older brother, Adam, had a laundry list of mental problems. He had apparently done some bad drugs back in the day, and he had developed into what seemed like psychosis of the religious sort. He had done time in prison for assaulting a woman with a Bible. He would often look you in the eyes and tell you he could see how you would die. Once, he told me that I was possessed by a demon and I needed my soul cleansed. Everyone in the house knew he had these problems, but he was their friend. They helped him through the hard times and gave him a place to stay. Otherwise, he would be on the streets. I was always on guard around him after the things he told me. No one else seemed to be as concerned as I was. They should have been. One day I was sleeping and my phone rang. It was my boss. He asked if I could come into work an hour early. It was only 12 p.m. I was broke and had nothing better to do, so I said yes. I got up and began getting ready to leave. I walked out into the living room to see Mark and Andrew sitting on the couch, while Adam sat on the floor by the TV. He was watching scripture videos on YouTube, some real end of days shit. That was fairly common, so I went about my business. I said goodbye and left for work. My shift at work was almost complete when the phone rang. My boss answered, handed the phone to me and said, "For you." I was just a cashier, so I assumed it was a friend that couldn't reach me on my phone. I answered the phone and heard a man's voice that I didn't recognize.
Hi, this is Detective Williams. Something happened at your apartment today and we need you to come to the station to talk about it.
I left work immediately. I had assumed one of the brothers had been arrested for drug dealing or something. I was very wrong. I got to the station and was buzzed in. An officer escorted me to a small, cold room with a camera. He gave me a bottle of water and left me by myself for about 30 minutes. My mind was racing thinking about what could have happened. He came back in and informed me that Adam had stabbed and killed Andrew at around 1 p.m. I was shocked. I had just left the house an hour before it happened, and everything seemed fine. I asked if there had been a fight. The detective informed me that there hadn't been a fight, and it seemed to have happened out of nowhere. I gave my statement to the police and left with nowhere to go, still in shock and confused out of my mind. Our apartment was a crime scene, so I went to another friend's house to watch the news report since the police wouldn't give me any information on the case. Over the next couple of days, the information began to be released. Adam had not just stabbed Andrew once, not twice, but he had stabbed him over and over and nearly decapitated him. After the murder, he ran down the road, still holding the murder weapon. He called 911 and informed them what he had done. I watched the news report in horror. We had known he was unstable, but this? He had fully confessed to the brutal murder and provided police with his notebooks. He had apparently been planning to murder all of his brothers, my roommates, and me. He thought we were possessed by demons, and this was the only way to free us. Luckily, none of his other intended victims were there that day. Mark unfortunately witnessed the murder, but he luckily escaped. If I hadn't gotten that call from my boss, I wouldn't be alive today. This was 2014. I was 17 at the time and I would have to take the bus to and from school. The bus stop was on the main road, so I would have to walk a few blocks to get to the apartment complex. I was walking home from school one day and this Honda van pulls over. A girl comes out. She introduced herself and tells me she's new to the area and wants to make new friends. I gave her my number and quickly we made plans to have dinner. Maybe a day or two later, she picks me up in the same van, but this time with a man who was driving and also another young female. She didn't mention these other 2 people, but I didn't think much of it. It was a lot of red flags I ignored. I was young and naive. The man was doing all the talking during our dinner and the other 2 girls were quiet. Another red flag. He put on his fake nice tone in his voice the whole time, asking me questions. Then he started getting weird, like saying how he can read minds, and started telling me all this information he know about me. I had no idea how he knew all that, so I believed him. After dinner, we stopped by their house, which was in a whole other city than where my apartment is. Remember how the girl told me that she stayed by me? Another red flag. It was a really nice house though, and he had a Mercedes in his driveway. My young mind was intrigued. He told me how they are all roommates and hustle together. He took me back home the night though by himself and was trying to convince me to be a part of their lifestyle. A couple days after, at this point, I'm only texting the man. The girl barely held any conversation with me, but he tricked me into thinking he was this super nice person. He asked me to pack some clothes and spend the night, and I agreed. After hours of talking, he convinced me to leave my mom's house and stay with them. I texted my mom that I was moving out, and as I was already almost 18, she was okay with it for some reason. This is when shit hit the fan. He was not the nice, charming person that I had met. Only after I moved in did he tell me that those girls were sex workers and that I would become one too when I turned 18. He started telling me how to do my hair or how to dress. He gave me a whole new phone and number with a tracking app on it. I wasn't allowed to contact my mother or any of my family or friends. He would keep insisting he could read my mind and hear my thoughts. Even the smallest mistakes I made, he would punish me for it. He duct taped my hands and feet, tased my private part, stabbed me with screwdrivers, punched me until I passed out, all with a grin on his face. He enjoyed hurting me. I will never forget the look on his face. I can't explain it. It's like his eyes literally turned black. Holy crap, this was real. I thought only people were like this in movies. People are really out here torturing people. He also made me watch those gore videos of people getting decapitated and the most disgusting videos of people getting tortured I'd ever seen, all while holding a knife to my neck. He would also have sex with me every day when the girls went to work at the hotels. He would lie and say I was the only one he was intimate with and that I was special. He told me if I ever tried to leave or if I ever told anyone where I was at, he would kill me and them. He would go into detail about exactly how he wanted to kill me and where he would put my body. One day, he had me lay down and beat me so bad in my stomach while his leg was choking me over my neck. I blacked out and woke up so confused, my vision was tunneled. I had a huge knot in the back of my head. I couldn't even stand up straight. I had no idea what else he did to me while I was passed out. But at that point, I told myself this man was going to kill me. I'd rather risk him killing me if I get caught trying to leave than spending any more time with this monster. I didn't care about the threats anymore. I wanted to be gone. I didn't sleep that night. I waited until I heard him snoring really loud and I made a run for it. I took nothing, not even the phone because it had a tracker on it. And god damn it, I made it by the grace of God. I'm so happy for you. I still didn't speak to my mother for about 3 months out of fear. I was right because he went looking for me at her apartment. Don't even know how he knew where she lived. Eventually, I reached out to her and she had filed a missing persons report. She was crying because she thought I was murdered. I went on with my life. I did end up stripping. I still do sometimes. Fast forward 2017. One of the girls was smart because somehow she set him up. Son of a bitch is rotting in prison now. I found out because the detectives were looking for me. There's articles about him and all. I'm still cool with the girls. I know it wasn't their fault. We still talk. I was about 7 years old, my brother about 10. It was well past our bedtime when our mom woke up off the couch to put us to bed. Our dad worked construction out of town back then, so it was often just us three at the house for weeks at a time. Up the stairs and to the immediate right was our parents' bedroom. Going left puts you in the middle of a hallway. Taking another left down that hallway led to my brother's room. The opposite end was my room, which was also across the hall from our upstairs bathroom. At either end of the hallway, our window doors were always kept locked and rarely used. The door on my end led to a balcony overlooking our front yard, and the door on my brother's end opened to our back porch. My brother and mom both had a habit of waking up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom. I only knew this because I was always a light sleeper and they just couldn't help flushing with the doors wide open. This night, however, my brother stopped on his way to his room and came back towards the bathroom. I'm gonna try to pee before I go to bed. The past few nights I've been too afraid to walk to the bathroom. I keep seeing a man wearing stripes at the end of the hallway. I don't know if my mom wrote it off as my brother telling ghost stories to try to scare me, or if she was already half asleep and didn't catch it, but she didn't react at all to my brother's confession. I, on the other hand, was terrified by it. The fear of seeing a ghost like that at the end of the hallway or through the windows is the reason I started running from the stairs to my bedroom at night. Years later, when I was about 18, my mom and I were having a conversation in her car about a dog we had for a very short time when I was little. We were sharing stories about Max's tendency towards destroying my shoes and other unruly behaviors when my mom blurted out, "Do you remember that time I opened the front door for the cops and Max ran inside to the kitchen and started tearing open that big bag of dog food we had?" This really caught me by surprise because in all these years I lived in that house, we never once called cops. I asked her what she was talking about and she looked equally surprised as if she had just revealed something by accident. "Oh, that's right. I never told you because you were too young at the time. One night, I woke up hearing noises outside my window, and when I looked, I saw a man staring into my bedroom." She went on to describe how turning on the lights caused him to take off running and how she grabbed my dad's pistol before calling the cops. "I can't remember all the details I gave them when they showed up. Tall white male, wearing a striped shirt and jeans, short dark hair, something like that. They said it matched the description of a man they were looking for in the area. It turns out he had escaped from a jail on a murder charge." Now, I know it sounds so obvious hearing those two stories back to back, but it wasn't until a few years ago, in my mid-20s, that I pieced together that my brother had unknowingly warned us about the murderer who spent multiple nights casing our home. This happened at my college years back. I went to a college that was integrated into a big city. So even though there was a campus, there were plenty of shops, back streets, public transport, and just regular people walking around. So I was part of a club that went late into the night. I usually only stayed till 9:30 p.m. and would then leave, usually with a friend. The club was in the center of campus while I lived east of it, so a 15-20 minute walk. This was a foggy late fall, early winter night. My friend had left early because they weren't feeling well. I ended up staying late and began my walk close to 10:30 p.m. So I started walking down a back street that was quiet but led right to my dorm. It was after a few minutes that I heard footsteps somewhere behind me. I stopped, thinking it was a jogger, and moved to the side to let him pass. But then I noticed that there was no one coming and the footsteps had stopped. I shrugged and started walking. Then the footsteps started up again. I stopped and it stopped. I started to get a bad gut feeling and quickly walked to a side street that connected back street to a bigger main street. What is this, man? Come on. This street had a lot of lights, plenty of cars, and still a good number of people on it. I walked back to my dorm from there. Next morning, I woke up and checked my emails. One was from the campus alert system. Apparently, an hour after I got back to the dorm, someone was stabbed on the back street. Victim was rushed to the hospital and survived, saying that the perpetrator followed them down the back street before stabbing them. Perpetrator never got caught, but I have no doubt that that was the person who tried to follow me. I'm so glad I trusted my gut. After that, I made sure to never stay at the club past 9:30 and to always leave with someone who was at least walking in the same direction as me. Yeah, good choice. Thank you guys. See you next time.